Hello, everybody, and everybody is nobody so far, but I will wait a minute and see who else pops in. This is John Aravosis of AMERICAblog. We are waiting for folks to join in. I'm going to wait a second and see. Hey, everybody. 4 people. Hey, it's John Aravosis of AMERICAblog. I'm going to wait another... Oh, hey, Lisa. I'm going to wait another minute or two. Well, not a minute. A couple more seconds for a few more folks to join in. Okay. Hey, about 18 people. Hey, Donna. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, we can start now. Hey, it's John Aravosis with AMERICAblog, editor of AMERICAblog. I'm just getting my camera set up. So this is kind of fun today. Donald Trump is in absolute full meltdown mode today over the election. CNN just showed literally 5 seconds ago, so I couldn't grab it for you guys to show. Donald Trump is now doing a campaign ad that shows Hillary stumbling on September 11th when she had her pneumonia, and it finally affected her, and she kind of stumbled to the car. He's showing the picture of her stumbling to the car, but even better, he also showed a photo of when Hillary tripped walking up some steps. And there's a photo out there where Hillary is walking up some steps to a house, and she tripped on a step, and as she's like falling forward, of course the Secret Service grabs her by the arms to stop her from falling. Well, the still shot is Hillary, imagine if you're mid-fall, and you're kind of like this, and somebody's holding you by the arms, so it looks like you're 115 years old, and you can't walk up the steps, and they're helping this old lady. The ad from Trump is questioning Hillary's stamina. I mean, this is how desperate the guy is, but also this is how vicious he's looking for this campaign to go. Today, I just pulled them up. Today, Trump has been on a tweet storm. God bless him. He's tweeting again. And folks, there were 6 tweets this morning. I've got to see how many he's at now. He starts this morning by going after Paul Ryan. Oh, where is this? Yes, by going after Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan is the Republican Speaker of the House. Paul Ryan should spend more time on balancing the budget, jobs, and illegal immigration. This was from yesterday. And not waste his time fighting the nominee. He then tweets a couple hours later. Hold on a sec. Oh, no, this is from this morning. Where are we? Here we go. This is from this morning, 3 hours ago. Our very weak and ineffective leader, Paul Ryan, had a bad conference call where his members went wild with his disloyalty. He then talks about how he's so happy to have the shackles removed, taken off of me, and I can now fight for the America the way I want to. Basically what happened was Paul Ryan, Republican Speaker of the House, everyone believes came to the determination yesterday that Donald Trump isn't going to win the election. And what's more important, Donald Trump is going to be taking down the Congress with him. There's already been a lot of polls showing that if the election were held today, Democrats would win the Senate. Both the Senate and the House are run by Republicans right now. But now the concern, and this is something I raised a couple weeks ago, now the concern is whether Democrats could actually win back the House of Representatives, something that was considered impossible only a week ago. Well, people believe that Ryan held this conference call yesterday morning with Republican legislators, Republican members of Congress, because he is now concerned that he may actually lose control of the House of Representatives to Democrats because Trump is so bringing down the party. So what Ryan did yesterday, Ryan said in this call, I am no longer going to be defending Donald Trump. He can defend himself. I'm not taking any more questions about the guy. And he told Republicans around the country, remember, in the House of Representatives, everyone is up for re-election every 2 years. So every single member of the House is up for election in November. He told them, you all do whatever you need to do. You make your own determination on whether or not you're going to support Donald Trump. I'm not going to interfere. And as I said, everyone thinks that means Ryan thinks Trump is toast. So Trump is now on a tweet storm this morning. What did he write? With the exception of cheating Bernie out of the nomination, the Democrats have always proven to be far more loyal to each other than the Republicans. And then he tweets, disloyal R's for Republicans. Disloyal R's are far more difficult than crooked Hillary. They come at you from all sides. They don't know how to win. I will teach them! Exclamation point. Meltdown. Seriously, if you're in politics, this is like the most... This is Christmas morning, what he's doing right now. I wanted to pull up my notes and just sort of walk you guys through a couple things. Where is this? A couple good clips I want to show you and then get into a little more of the substance. Oh yeah, so anyway, everybody knows obviously by now about Trump's video on Friday and how just insane it was, where Trump and Billy Bush are on the bus of Access Hollywood back in 2005, I believe. And Trump is talking about how he likes to get women and how because he's a star, he can do whatever he wants and he can kiss them and he can, quote unquote, grope them by the pussy, end quote. This is what Trump said. Even though they don't want him to, he can do it because he's a star. And interestingly enough, what I thought was interesting about that whole sort of episode on Friday was initially the media was reporting this around 6 o'clock as being a lewd tape. It was a lewd new tape where Trump has made sexual comments about women. And within about an hour or two, all of a sudden everyone started catching on that this wasn't a body language tape. This was actually a sexual assault tape, that Trump was talking about grabbing women by the genitals uninvited, and when they didn't even want him to, because he was a star, he could do whatever he wants. It was just fascinating to watch sort of the progression, like I said, over the first couple hours, where all of a sudden the media and the public figured out that this was far worse. And then Billy Bush, who was the Access Hollywood guy at the time, who now is with the Today Show and just got suspended and may lose his job as a result of this. Billy Bush is with him, egging him on, and they get off the bus together. And again, this took until, I think, 3 days later for people to figure out Billy Bush's role. They get off the bus after Trump talks about his strategy for how he sexually assaults women. And Billy Bush sits there and turns to the woman who Trump is meeting with, who I believe is a soap star, and says, "Hey, give the Donald a hug." Because Trump had just explained how he gets really close to these women and then he moves in for the kill and they can't do anything. Bush was setting him up to sexually assault this woman. And it took until Sunday or Monday, I think, for the Today Show folks and for the public to finally go, wait a minute, what was Bush's role in this? So really interesting, just from a sort of a micro issue of looking at the sexual assault issue and looking at women's rights, of just how this issue really developed and exploded. And I will say this, I mean, for anyone who cares about women, which I hope is everybody, it's really fascinating how this issue really took hold, and I think in a really positive way, which is great. So I wanted to show you guys a couple videos here. Where's that? Like I said, we're just amazing. This. Oh yeah, first I've got Trump at the debate. Now I wanted to show you this one because what I noticed at the debate with Hillary was that Trump was pissed. Clearly, Trump felt that. Clearly, Trump felt that the video was a bunch of BS, that it was ridiculous. People were criticizing him, that as he says, Bill Clinton's done more. As he said today, Ted Kennedy did more. Yes, Donald Trump today is invoking Ted Kennedy, who died many years ago. And Trump was just furious at that point. Let me, I'm going to see if I can get you guys, if I can get this, I'll flip around. Here we go. Now let me just show you, hold on, I'm turning up my volume too. Sorry, this is real time here. Beep, 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 beep. There we go. Oops, sorry. And boom.
What about the other 16,000?
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yes, that's true. I didn't. I did in the first debate, and I'm going to try not to in this debate because I'd like to get to the questions that the people have brought here tonight to talk to us about.
And get off this question.
He was pissed. I mean, Trump was pissed at this debate, and turn this around. And as I said, he was ticked because he felt like he did nothing wrong. Now, another video, real quick. I said I have a couple videos I wanted to show you guys that are really good. Oh, this was a great one too. I noticed this last night. At one point in the debate, and I'm sure you guys heard this, Trump talked about Hillary. He called her the devil, which was really bizarre. I remember hearing that and going, that was just weird. This is a very short clip, but it freezes at the end. Watch the woman behind Trump, one of the undecided, sitting there at the debate when Trump calls Hillary the devil. I thought this was really fascinating. Flip this. There we go. Now, she's on the right. Watch. Whoop. Whoop. Hello. Come on.
Him sign on with the devil.
Well, much of the debate left a sour taste for those already.
Look at that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to show this one more time.
Sign on with the devil.
Well, much of the debate left a sour taste for those already.
As somebody said to me on Twitter, she's not undecided anymore. I mean, that face tells you everything you need to know, I think, about why we saw. Well, actually, we're still waiting, I think, for the latest poll to come right now. There were some polls released this weekend which showed, or I think it was this weekend. Yeah, I don't think it was yesterday, which showed that Hillary is now 11 points ahead of Trump. Something like, I'm forgetting, was it 45 to 36, something like that, or 35 to 44. But in any case, but Hillary's 11 points ahead. And this was just after the video came out. It doesn't yet show what happened after the debate. Let me find you. Got two more to show you. Oh yeah, this one I got a kick out of just because it's Ken Bone, who's the guy in the the guy in the red sweater that everyone's been talking about at the debate, who asked the question, and he's got the little mustache and the red sweater and became this internet sensation, and now people are planning their Halloween costumes. What Bone said, I thought though was really interesting in sort of a regular guy way, which I liked. Anyway, let me just show you the clip. Like I said, it was very interesting. Again. All right, real quick.
And if he's allowed to appoint the next Supreme Court nominee, there's a very good chance that we could lose some of the rights that we've fought for the last 8 years, rights that all Americans should share, like marriage equality. And I do not want to see anyone's rights taken away. So that's what makes it difficult for me, is we're looking at a personal interest versus community interest election.
Well,
I just thought that was you know, he was still saying he's undecided. I mean, he still feels like Trump will help him in some ways more than Hillary. But I thought it was really neat that he talked about how, yeah, even though personally he thought he might do better with Trump, he really feels like, you know, Trump is going to just hurt a lot of people across the country. And especially that he brought up marriage equality was interesting because, as a lot of my friends have noted, and some of a lot of the folks on, you know, who read my blog, we haven't heard anything about LGBT issues really at all in this election. It's been kind of strange. You know what I mean? Remember we had, you know, Hillary's weird brain fart, I'll call it, where she mentioned about the Reagans and AIDS or whatever, and you know, she admitted within 2 hours she didn't know why the hell she said that. You know, and we had the shooting in Orlando, but that wasn't really election related, you know, and everyone felt they had to speak out about that. But we have not had LGBT issues come up at all in this election. And frankly, even from Hillary's camp, they're not really bringing it up either, and I'm not sure why. Now, her website has a very long you know, list of things she plans on doing on our issues, which is great. But you don't hear either campaign talking about it, and I just find that kind of weird. I mean, Tim Kaine talks about it sometimes. You know, I'm not saying they don't talk about it, but it's not come up as a large issue. Oh, one more video. This is the best video of all. This is Ana Navarro, who you may or may not know is a Republican. I don't know what our Ana does. You know, Republican pundit, but I mean, she works in Republican politics overall, and considered rather conservative by my friends who were following her before. Ana immigrated to the U.S. a long time ago from Nicaragua. She's an American citizen now. I think she was a young kid when she immigrated, and Ana has been outspoken from the beginning against Trump. I mean, as a not necessarily moderate Republican, as a more conservative Republican, from the beginning she said, this guy's trash, I'm not supporting him. And she has been, I think, not just the most outspoken Republican against Trump, but also the most eloquent and the most poignant sort of spokesperson on CNN about Trump. And she got into this real fight the other night, which if I can find, I'll pull it up. It's on my Twitter feed. I may not be able to find it. But this one was interesting because this was Ana talking to Scotty Hughes, who is Trump surrogate, who's, you know, one of the remaining people defending Trump on TV. And what the Trump folks have been doing now is trying to downplay the sexual assault angle. As we talked about earlier, you know, the Trump video was bragging about how he sexually assaults women. And now what they're doing is they're trying to say, oh, it's just locker room talk. It's just words. It's the way guys talk. And everyone's going, well, no, that's not the way guys talk. And some guys talk that way. But, you know, guys who talk that way, you know, deserve to be in jail if they're talking about things they actually did. I mean, they're talking about sexually assaulting women. I mean, it's violent and it's vile. So Anna's talking to the Trump surrogate, and the Trump surrogate had just basically once again talked about these being just words, and, you know, you're just overexcited, and, you know, why are you so excited about this issue? And Anna weighs into it as to why she's excited, and it's maybe a minute long. It is so worth watching. Okay, hang on a second. Like I said, this was probably like the best one of the last few days. All right, boom.
Frankly, hypocritical, and I find inconsistent, I find absurd and surreal, is for Scotty or any of his supporters to tell me that I'm spreading hate, to tell me that I'm name-calling. This man has been doing nothing but name-calling and spreading hate from the first moment he announced June 16, 2015. He called Mexican rapists. He has called Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig. He has called Carly Fiorina ugly. I mean, what do you call that? He has called Miss Universe disgusting and said he made sex tapes. He Yeah, let me tell you what the difference
Here's
is.
the
The difference is,
Anna.
I'm just a TV pundit. The difference is he's trying to run for the highest office of the land, representing all Americans. And let me tell you something, Scotty. I get stopped at airports. I get stopped at airports by victims of sexual assault who say to me, "Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for understanding that that is sexual assault. That an unwanted sexual assault, a man who thinks he is entitled and powerful, being able to grope a woman who does not want it, is sexual assault." So it may not mean anything to you. It means a lot to me.
Scotty, you'll be able to respond.
I mean, I should have left that as the last video because I'm not even sure what to say after that. That was just absolutely amazing. I mean, she's, so like I said, some of my readers said she was very conservative before or still is very conservative, but you know what? You get major kudos for speaking out like that and sorry, I'm adjusting my camera here, and speaking out that eloquently. Really amazing. Now, let me just sort of go through a little bit of what I was going to talk about today as far as some of the updates that have really been fascinating. Right, so we've got Paul Ryan, then head of the GOP in the House, says he's no longer going to defend Trump, tells members decide whatever you want to do. CNN today is calling it an implosion in the Republican Party. Trump attacking the Republicans and the Republicans not sure what to do. There were protests yesterday outside the Republican National Committee, the party headquarters in Washington, D.C., by Trump supporters. Trump's tweets today, as I said, going crazy, and he's still tweeting. And one of the reporters who's been very in touch with the Trump campaign said that what's going on is that Trump is literally sitting in his apartment over at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue in New York, and he's sitting there with Steve Bannon, and he's just tweeting like crazy. Well, Steve Bannon is the alt-right leader. The alt-right, remember, is this, as Joy Reid calls them, hipster white supremacist movement that Breitbart, the really not far right, the white supremacist now website, is run by Steve Bannon, who is now the head of the Trump campaign. I mean, I really can't sort of reiterate this enough. The guy who runs one of the lead, if not the lead white supremacist website, is the head of the Trump campaign. And this caused a little bit of a blip when Trump hired him, and now everyone forgets about this. Well, we're now at the point where this white supremacist website leader is now basically running the Trump campaign. We went from Corey Lewandowski several months ago. Corey's the jerk you always see on CNN, who was accused by journalist Michelle Fields of grabbing her harshly by the wrist and pulling her, and she filed an assault complaint against him. I mean, it was so sort of violent how she says he grabbed her. You got Corey was the first campaign head. Then he gets kicked out. You get Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort was the guy that had all the creepy Russian ties and Ukrainian ties. And finally, Trump got rid of him, 8 weeks ago, because Trump couldn't handle all the negative press about how the Russians had co-opted his entire campaign. Next, you get Kellyanne. And Kellyanne is Fitzpatrick, I think, or Fitzgerald. Fitzpatrick, I think. Actually, she's got three names. It's Kellyanne Conway, but I think that's one of her middle names. Kellyanne Conway comes in. Kellyanne is the one about a month and a half, 2 months ago, who basically took Trump's phone away, tied him down to a chair, and said, you are going to read the teleprompters and you aren't going to go off script. And Trump did all of those really boring performances where he read the teleprompter and, they popped a Xanax in his mouth and he simply read the speech and you said, this is no way, this is really Donald Trump. But Trump moved up in the polls, and he moved almost equally with Hillary, some polls showing he surpassed Hillary. I mean, it was a crazy rebound he did in 1 month. What happens? Then the video comes out, and Trump goes crazy again. Kellyanne, I think, is on the sidelines now, and Bannon, we hear today, is the number one guy. So you've now got Trump in 5 or 6 months who's gone through 4 campaign heads, and he's finally just settled on the alt-right white supremacist campaign head. Trump now talking today about how he finally feels unshackled. He can do what he wants. He's clearly at the rallies today not on script. He's not reading the teleprompter. He's talking about Bill Clinton's affairs. As I told you, he was talking about Ted Kennedy's affairs. Ted Kennedy, who's dead. And he's talking about Kennedy's affairs as somehow exonerating him. Trump is imploding. I know what I was going to say. What's interesting in that regard is, why is he doing it? One, he's pissed, clearly. And as I said, you could tell at the debate, you could tell with his apologies Friday night, and I put apologies in quotes. Trump was pissed that this video came out. He was pissed that he was being blamed for it. He was pissed that in his eyes, every guy is like this and it's normal and it's healthy alpha male American. And the fact that he would be criticized for something everybody else, including, in his words, Bill Clinton, has done, is ludicrous. So Trump went into the debate Sunday night pissed, and he's now just mad as hell. Trump is the ultimate victim here is Donald Trump. So you go in today with Trump being the massive victim of all of this, and you get a sense of where we are. Now, let me see what else we have with the protests. Oh, so then Trump's people, this is really interesting. Trump's surrogates, the people who represent him unofficially, but they coordinate with the campaign. The campaign does conference calls with them, gives them talking points, so they are representatives of the campaign. Well, the surrogates have been on all the networks in the last 2 days talking about Bill Clinton's affairs. Yesterday, all day long, they talked about Bill Clinton's affairs. Trump did the same thing. Then they get on TV last night, and all of his surrogates start saying, why aren't we talking about the issues? The voters want to hear about the issues. All Hillary Clinton wants to do is talk about other things. We want to talk about the issues that matter to America. And thank God, the hosts on TV kept turning and going, you guys have been talking all day about Bill Clinton and Ted Kennedy. What are you even talking about? You want to talk about the issues. Clearly, Trump has decided, no cough button when you're doing it at home. Trump has decided that he wants to go full bore with this. He wants to try to take Hillary and Bill down. He probably thinks he can win doing this. Nobody else does. But what I was hearing today, and it was backing up something that people have been saying for a few weeks now, there's a lot of consideration being given, maybe a lot of concern that Trump is planning on building an alt-right media empire. That when all of the election finishes, he's going to get together with Bannon. He's going to get together with Roger Ailes, who was the Fox News chief who was booted out because of sexual harassment, interestingly enough. And he's going to get the three horsemen of the apocalypse together. I'm not sure who the fourth is going to be. The three together, Corey Lewandowski will be the fourth, I'm sure. He's going to get them together and create some kind of alt-right media empire. There was a conservative radio host, I think his name is Deese, out of Boston today, talking on one of the networks, and he made an interesting point I hadn't even thought of. Not only does Trump have sort of all of these people together, all of these media figures of the far right, and not only does Trump have now a massive following, he's got 12 million followers on Twitter, he'll get 45, 50 million votes. But Trump also has all the voter lists. He has access now to all of the voter information from the RNC. So he's got all the data on every Republican in the country. And that he's basically going to take this to make a media empire that will not only equal Fox, but that will destroy Fox. Now, obviously, we're all happy to watch another right-wing media take on Fox, and they all have a little civil war. But what's really scary is this is, again, alt-right. This is white supremacist media we're talking about. And, the last thing we need after this election is Donald Trump getting an even larger voice rather than this election being, the wooden stake in the heart of his entire movement. I want to see if there's anything. Oh, the last little thing I was going to mention, just to show you how crazy this has all gotten. Rudy Giuliani, the night of the debate, after the debate, is on with Chris Matthews of MSNBC. And Giuliani starts talking about Monica's dress. And not only does Giuliani start talking about Monica's dress, he starts talking, and forgive me for saying this, but it was Rudy's quote, about the semen on Monica's dress on television. Chris Matthews was kind of like, whoa, this is how bad this has gotten. These guys have decided to go scorched earth. The Republican Party doesn't know what to do. A lot of them dumped Trump over the weekend, several dozen, but now the rest of them seem to be holding firm. Marco Rubio today said he's staying in. Ted Cruz yesterday said he's staying in. Paul Ryan has still refused to pull out. And I think, I'll sort of end with this, but then see what questions you guys have, because I've got my camera sitting in a coffee cup, in a Scotland Starbucks coffee cup, so I can't see the questions right now. But I think the challenge for the GOP is going to be, if Trump is no longer thinking of winning and is simply thinking that this is about destroying Hillary as much as possible, and now, frankly, destroying the GOP as much as possible, because now he sees them as the enemy too. And his intent is really to build up this alt-right media empire. The that motivation is not the same as the motivation to win the election. And what I mean by that is there are things you do if you're trying to destroy Hillary, if you're trying to hurt other Republicans, if you're trying to build up a white supremacist media empire. Things that you do are all the things Trump is doing today, all the crazy things, all the things that make the Republicans just cringe because they're so nutsy. That's what you do to reach that goal. The problem is those things hurt the Republican Party. They will turn away voters in November. And when the voters turn away, when they don't vote for Trump, the fear is they won't vote for the down ballot candidates either. Meaning, you don't just click Republican because you don't want to vote for Trump. So all of a sudden you start picking and choosing and you just pick Hillary or Gary Johnson or somebody and you don't even vote for the rest. That will then hurt the Republicans in Congress. So the fear and the challenge, I think, for the Republican Party now is most of them are still sticking with Trump, but Trump is no longer sticking with them. And that's going to be a disaster for them in November. The final sort of joke, I'll tell you, not joke, but it was really funny, was yesterday, Katrina Pearson. You remember Katrina Pearson. We call her, she has a whole hashtag devoted to her on Twitter, Katrina Pearson History. She's the one who said that President Obama invaded Afghanistan in 2001 and that Obama and Hillary were responsible for Mr. Khan's son dying in Iraq in 2004 when Obama was a state senator and Hillary was a senator from New York. And I forget what else. She had some other wacky thing she came up with that everyone kind of went, Katrina, they weren't even there then. What are you talking about? Well, Katrina, oh shoot, I was going to tell you about Katrina. Oh yeah, Katrina yesterday says, you better watch it, Republicans. If you turn on Donald Trump, then none of our people are going to vote for your down ticket people. And all of us on the Democratic side were like, good. So you mean as retribution for the Republican Party not supporting Trump, Katrina and the Trumplings now are going to try to make the Senate and House turn Democratic. Okay, that works for me. So things are going very well. I mean, the last point I'll leave you guys with, and then, like I said, I promise to check questions or comments below, is look at how quickly things have turned in the last few weeks. A couple months ago, Hillary was ahead and everybody said she was going to win, even though obviously a lot of us were nervous about it. Oh, my dog's making noise. She wants to be pet. I'm on camera, Sash. Then you've got in the last couple, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, Kellyanne gets Trump to be sane and Trump goes back up in the polls almost equally with Hillary. Then you get the video and all of a sudden now Trump is back down in the poll. Well, not just the video. There was the first debate, the Alicia Machado thing, Miss Universe. So all of them, Trump charts going down and now he's even worse with the video, okay? But you've seen this up and down with Trump where Hillary's obviously going to win. Now they're tied. Hillary's obviously going to win. That I still worry with 1 month to go. You never know what can happen. Trump has my fear is that some of Hillary's support may be soft. And that's why at least some of it is willing to swing so crazily up and down. And that we've just got to keep paying attention. It's why I think Hillary was very careful at the debate the other night. The reason she didn't go and rip Trump's throat out is at this point, she's ahead and she's just trying to stay ahead. And when you want to try to stay ahead, you keep your head down, you try to keep the status quo where it is, you respond to him in kind, you make sure he doesn't get ahead of you, but you don't want to go for a knockout punch because if you screw up, it could be a huge screw up on TV. So I think that's why you're seeing Hillary, maybe not pulling punches, but not being as dynamic as she was the first debate. So anyway, let me put my glasses on, pull the camera out of my Starbucks mug. Anybody have any comments or questions or anything else? Oh, Jim, hey, Favoris, friend from high school. Is it really just Trump that is in meltdown or the whole Republican Party? It depends what you mean. I mean, Trump is in a psychological meltdown. I think the GOP is in a meltdown in the sense that they don't know what they're doing, and it's more of a civil war in that case with the GOP. The ones that are standing with Trump, the ones that are against Trump. But I think in terms of sort of, you've got some major psychological thing. I'm not saying he's crazy, but I mean, you've got a major sort of narcissistic thing going on with Trump where he could very well be doing what he's doing now just because he's furious. And clearly the man has a thin skin and clearly he seems to act on emotion more than a politician or anybody of his stature should. So I think that's what's going on. Pence is Phil Klein, is a Pence candidacy possible or not? People had looked into that, and from what I'd seen this weekend, because there was a lot of talk this weekend after the video that supposedly the Republicans, some of them were looking into the possibility, and apparently what they were saying was it's not possible for the RNC or anybody else to remove Trump but that Trump could step down. And if Trump stepped down, then, and I didn't really get the details on the process, but the party figures out who will replace him. And the thought was, of course, they would pick Pence. And a lot of Republicans, the ones that even this weekend, you had a lot of Republicans dumping Trump, and a lot of them saying he should just step down entirely, and that they would support Pence if it came to it, if Trump stepped down. So that's how it would work. Now, one last idea folks had was maybe convincing Pence to step down, which would then force Trump himself to step down because it would be such an embarrassment. I don't believe in a million years that Trump would be embarrassed enough ever to step down at this point. He's going all the way. All Clinton, from Terrence. Hey, Terrence. All Clinton needs to do right now is give Trump plenty of room for his meltdown and focus on getting her voters out. That's exactly it. I don't know if anybody can remember the sort of famous quote on, when your opponent, basically the idea is when your opponent is falling apart and killing himself, you step out of the way. And again, that's why I think Hillary was being very mild, very reasonable, very good-tempered during the debate, because he was melting down and she just wanted to be, you know what, I'm going to be presidential, smile, and have people say, hey, relatively she's pretty good. Well, the down ballot races, I was talking about that earlier. The thought about the down ballot races is if Republicans decide they don't want to vote for Trump, then they don't click the top of the ticket and have it be a straight ballot, because you can I'm forgetting how the different ballots work, but basically you can do a straight party vote and have it be every Republican. Well, if you don't want to vote for Trump and you're a Republican, you don't want to click the every Republican button. So you would end up clicking, Gary Johnson or something else, and then that means you've got to pick and choose who you're voting for. And the thought is a lot of people are going to be pretty lazy, and they're not going to want to go through the entire ballot and look for their congressman and look for their, who they like and who they don't. It's just so much easier to click one button. So the one button they're going to click is not Trump, and then they're not going to vote for anybody else. So it's not that they're going to vote against the other Republican candidates, but I think the concern is that they just won't vote for them. So if the Democrats can get everybody riled up, the Democrats will do better. Tim Grant asks, why did some pundits declare the second debate a tie? He was angry and spewing nonsense. I think, I will tell you the truth. When I was watching it, I was a little worried because I thought Trump was much better than he was the first debate, meaning he carried himself much better. Now, I know that pisses a lot of people off when we say things like that because they say you should care about the substance. But I don't think the American people care about the substance in many ways. We've always said in this country, and I think it's true, that voters vote based on who they'd like to have a drink with, who they'd like to go to dinner with. And I absolutely think that's true. George Bush was much more the kind of guy, regular guy people could drink with versus Al Gore being a little uptight. This election, Hillary, I don't think is as good when she's publicly speaking. I think she's very good one-on-one. I got to meet her once on the Hill years ago when they did a blogger meeting with the House Democrats, and I talked to her for about a minute. She was incredibly charming. I was very impressed with her. And I think on a stage she's not that good. So I'm forgetting where I was going with this. What was your question? Oh yeah, why Trump did better. So I watched the debate and I thought Trump was much better than he was the first time, and I didn't feel like Hillary really landed any punches. It just he definitely had her on the defense on the email thing and on a couple other things. He kept harping on them, and she doesn't have a great answer on it, and that came across. So I think that's why people felt it was a tie. I think they felt substantively it was kind of a tie. The problem was it really wasn't a tie. Trump stalked her like an animal throughout that entire thing. CNN had some wonderful body, what do you call it, where they look at how the things you do with your body, the eyebrows, your nose going like this, looking and figuring out what you're really thinking and feeling. And these two different guys did an analysis, and it was just really interesting, talking about how, yes, Trump was actually stalking her like an animal. He was furious, and I think you guys probably had the same impression I did. He looked like he was going to hit her during the debate. That was not good. Calling her a devil, as I showed you with that clip earlier, the one undecided woman sitting behind Trump, when he called Hillary a devil, she kind of went like this. So I think in the aftermath, give it a day or two now that it's sort of ripened, I don't think Trump won the debate. But I didn't feel like Hillary won it either. I just didn't feel like it was as strong a performance as the first one. I think that's why. Donna, people would be pissed if Pence got appointed in Trump's stead. I love that you use the word stead. I love that word. Also because he wasn't elected by anyone, he didn't go through the primary process. Yeah, I mean, but it's a mess anyway. I mean, if Trump were to step down, they'd have to pick somebody. So what do? You lost the video stream towards the end. Sorry, Heather, don't know what to tell you. Jim, what do you mean? I'm curious. My friend Jim, who's a very good writer, says, I'm concerned people are underestimating the gravity of the situation. In what sense? If you're still there and you can write a little bit more, I'd be curious what you see as sort of the gravity. The body language, yeah, Jack, that's what I was talking about. Will Trump do a third debate? That's really interesting. Terrence, there's been a lot of talk about that. I'm trying to remember. Well, initially there was talk as to whether Trump would do any more debates because he kept complaining about the mic, remember? And apparently the mic was a little screwed up in the first debate, but only in the debate hall. For the TV audience, it was fine. The joke is that Trump had two mic problems. In the first debate, his mic didn't work, and his problem in the second debate is that his mic did work. But I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what it was, but there was a reason people were saying it looked like Trump still might be playing. Oh, I know what it was. I forgot to even mention this, which I'm sure you all saw this now. The Washington Post reported the other night that Trump, at the second debate, he did bring 3 of Bill Clinton's accusers and tried to put them in the family booth. And he was going to have them walk up to Bill Clinton and try to shake hands with him before the debate to try to cause a huge scene and just, and obviously rattle Hillary, but I mean rattle her to the core, where literally you're walking on the stage and this whole thing erupts. That got stopped by the Republican head of the debate committee. You've got a Republican and a Democrat, which is, they do it together to keep it bipartisan or nonpartisan. And it was the Republican who intervened and told Trump, you do not get to bring these women. You get to put them in the audience, but you do not get to put them in the family booth and come on stage. If you do, I will have security remove them. And the Trump people, there were some inklings as to whether they were so furious that they were saying they wouldn't come to the third debate. That's what it was. What else we got here? Yeah. I will make a comment on this, since the Stephen West guy is bringing up this lie about Hillary getting some rapist off. You can, if anybody wants to, you can Google Snopes, and PolitiFact, I think, did it too, but Snopes, a couple of them did, showing that that's a total lie. Basically, when Hillary was a young lawyer in the 70s, the judge forced her to defend some guy as a public defender, because that can happen when you're a lawyer. And she tried to get, CNN did a thing on it yesterday too, she tried to get out of it. The judge said, no way, you're going to do it anyway. And the guy was accused of raping a minor. Hillary had to defend him, so she defended the guy, and there ended up being a plea deal. And now Trump's people are saying, oh, she defended a rapist. Well, that's the way the law works in this country. When the judge tells you have to be a public defender, you have to be a public defender. I mean, you have to take on the case. You don't have a choice. And when you take on the case, you have to do your due diligence. You have to try to win. You can't throw a case as a lawyer, especially as a public defender. You can't. I mean, she'd be disbarred if she did that. So that's what the Trump folks are saying. It's all a lie. You can Google it. I'm not even going to respond anymore to that. Exactly what Jennifer's saying. Yep, she was asked to defend. Anybody else? Any other kind of points? Or, like I said, Jim, if you're still there, I wouldn't mind some more of your analysis on why you're concerned about the gravity of the situation. I'm just looking up here to see anybody else that had any good little comments. Oh, Heather Slater. Yeah, I want to see this. I don't think this new poll is out. There's some poll coming out shortly that's an after-debate poll that I'm waiting to see. Heather, I saw this morning somewhere that a generic Democrat versus Republican ballot shows Democrats up 7. Okay, when you throw in Republicans who have unendorsed Trump, it goes Dems plus 12. But when you show the R's who are still endorsing Trump, it is also Dems plus 12. Okay, a little confused as to what that is, but yeah, I mean, what I will say this, which maybe gets a little bit to what you're saying. One of the things they were saying on the news yesterday, which is really interesting, is the platform for Trump in terms of his base support, he'll never go below, is they were thinking was like 40%, maybe even a little higher. In the most recent poll, it's showing Trump at 35%. And what they were saying on CNN last night is that's a really big problem for Trump, because it means this whole scandal with the video and his behavior over the last several weeks has actually eaten into his base. It hasn't just, affected undecideds who may have just moved over or anything else. It's actually gotten to some of those diehard Trump supporters that we didn't think we could get. So that's really interesting. And that, like you said, shows sort of how bad it is. I will make a comment what Joan mentioned about Get Out the Vote, which in political terms we call GOTV, not a TV channel, but it's Get Out the Vote. One thing that's really interesting with the Get Out the Vote, and this comes into, again, why polls matter, but you've got to be careful. Remember, in this country, 55 to 60% of the people vote. I don't know if anybody, I can't sort of Google while I'm chatting with you, but if anybody wants to Google and maybe post it as a comment, the percentage of people who vote, it's around 55 to 60%. So maybe it's half, it's a little better than half. Well, let's say Donald Trump and Hillary. Let's pretend they're both at 50-50 in the polls, okay? But only half of Hillary's people turn out. Well, then Donald gets 50 and she gets 25. Well, of course, the percentages work out more, but it would mean Donald gets 50 million and she gets 25 million votes, because even though she's polling at 50 million votes, half of her people just don't show up to vote. That's why Get Out the Vote matters. When we're in a country where only 50 to 60% of the people vote, it makes a huge difference how many people you turn out on election day. So the polls can be very close, or in this case, the polls can be 11 points apart. But if the Republicans are able to up their percentage of turnout, and we, in key areas, lessen our turnout, it can change the election entirely. So that's why you'll hear people talk about Get Out the Vote. And that's another sort of unknown, or I love this phrase, the known unknowns, meaning things we know could be an issue, but we don't know the answer. We don't know what turnout's going to be like on election day, but we know it's an unknown that we've got to pay attention to, because it can affect the turnout, even if the polls look good. Vote early, yep, early and often, as we say in Chicago. Rosemary Beecham. She was court appointed. This is talking about Hillary with that case back in the 70s. Right. She was court appointed. She attempted to be let go. She did what every defense lawyer is supposed to do. In addition, the man passed a lie detector test, making harder for the prosecution. Interviews just 2 years ago of the prosecutor from that case was clear. My guess is if you could get accused of a crime, you would want the best attorney to represent you. Last, this is true actually, Donald has a lawsuit filed in New York concerning rape of a 13-year-old. That's the thing, and you don't hear much about that. I actually need to investigate that more, because I haven't wanted to talk about it without looking into it more, because unlike the Republicans, I do like to try to be fair on this stuff. Let me see what we've got. Not getting out the vote is why we have a Republican governor in Maryland, according to Janet Simmons. Oh, okay, thanks, Ryan. Ryan Ratliff looked it up. 57.5% turnout in 2012 presidential election. 57%. I mean, for Europeans, that's just considered, the horror. They can't even imagine we have that bad of turnout. Oh, Jim weighed in again. Oh, good. My friend Jim weighed in again, explaining a little more about why he thought a lot of people are missing the gravity of what's going on. A party divided cannot stand. If the Republican Party is in civil war, it will split. Trump loses. The Republicans lose the Senate. Trump's people, 1/3 of the population, very angry, irrational, well-armed, believing the election was rigged. What this will do to American democracy and civil society. I agree completely. And that's, again, they were talking about that on TV a while last night, which is really interesting. Is, right, if you've got Trump tapping into this anger and also definitely feeding it. So it's a vicious circle you've got going, where he didn't necessarily create the anger, but he saw it and decided to really tap into it and make it grow. You've got those people losing. You've got Trump already. Much of the thought today is the tweets Trump is putting out there attacking Paul Ryan and the party for not standing behind him. It's not just Trump venting. It's Trump also preparing himself to lose so that he can turn to his supporters and say, you see, the Republican Party screwed us. We were going to win, but because of Paul Ryan and all the Republican establishment at the RNC, we lost this election because they pulled the plug 4 weeks ago when I had Hillary by the P word. And all of a sudden, we've now switched from Trump a couple weeks ago talking about how the Democrats were going to steal the election to now Trump is talking about how the Republicans are going to steal the election. And what does that do when you've got, as Jim said, 1/3 of the country who is, irate, angry, anti-establishment, and I don't mean that in the buzz way people use the word. I mean it in the way of they are almost, I don't know if the word is sociopath, but they're, antisocial, where they literally sort of believe that all the systems of government are broken and they want a revolution. And as Jim said, they're well-armed as well, literally well-armed. That's a real problem. And if Trump then wants to create some kind of a media entity or anything else, or even as far as, like Jim is saying, maybe even a third party, if they break off from the Republicans, what do you do? And I mean, what do we do as a country if all of a sudden, trying to think actually. It's a much larger discussion. We almost ought to have a separate discussion on this at some point. It's a much larger discussion about sort of civil society and what's the social contract. The idea that we all, I'm going to probably explain this badly, but that we all sort of agree to get along even if we don't agree. We all agree to obey stoplights and stop signs, even though now nobody does. We all agree to treat each other decently. We all agree not to punch and shove and shoot each other, even if we think we can get away with it. We don't do it. That in presidential debates, we don't call people the devil. We don't talk about pussies. We don't, right? I mean, all this kind of thing. And all of a sudden, that's being broken. Last night on CNN, David Brinkley, not David Brinkley, but young David Brinkley, I think it's David, was talking about, a presidential historian, was talking about how the debate was just unprecedented the other night. It was the most vile thing he'd ever seen, and the most vile thing we've seen as a country, going all the way back to the first presidential debate with Nixon and Kennedy in 1960. I mean, and that was not vile, he's saying, but he means we've never seen anything this sort of disgusting. And I think that's what scares me, is there's a coarsening to the culture and an anger and a viciousness that's already been building, and God knows why. I mean, you're seeing it worldwide with Brexit. You're seeing it with the crazy far-right parties, and I'm talking, again, fascist parties in Europe, in Greece, in Hungary, in Sweden, in France, in England. You're seeing Trump suck up to the fascists in England. You're seeing Colombia, the peace treaty, being surprisingly voted down by the public at large, which also some are pointing to as being this sort of unexpected popular movements popping up. And I'm sure some people would say that's really healthy to have the people take over. And some of us feel like this could be really dangerous, especially when somebody like Trump is basically trying to court it, is saying, yeah, people are pissed and want a revolution. Let's go for it. See what some of the other folks are saying. Right, the GOTV, marginalized people, anti-government, exactly, folks. Words of treason. Douglas Brinkley. Yeah, I knew it wasn't David Brinkley. Douglas Brinkley. I don't know, anybody else? I mean, like I said, we were just sort of talking about Trump's meltdown today and kind of where things are heading. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic about the how Democrats are going to do. John Klinko. Hey, John, long-time friend. Do you think the Dems actually have a chance of winning the House, or is that just too much to hope for? I will admit, and something I know folks don't ever do, I am not a numbers guy. I'm good at math. Took calculus in college, or in high school even, but I'm not a poll guy necessarily. I've got other, like my friend Joe Sudbay and others who are really poll geeks and are amazing at it. My gut, which I tend to go on a lot, but of course I wouldn't, I'm not going to swear in court just based on what my gut says, but my gut told me a couple weeks ago that the House might be in play. And what I mean by that is this situation was reminding me a lot of 1994. And I always tell the story. In 1994, I talked to one of my friends who was one of the top staffers in the House, and now was one of the top Democrats in Washington. And I asked him, after 1994, when did we know that we were going to lose the House and Senate in 94 with the big Republican Revolution? And he told me, the Senate was several months before. We knew it was in trouble. I said, what about the House? And he worked in the House. And I'm forgetting the exact time, but I remember it was anywhere between like 2 and 6 weeks that we knew we were in danger with the House. In other words, before 6 weeks before the election, so end of September, everybody thought the House was fine. And then all of a sudden October hit and it became, holy crap, we may lose the House of Representatives. That's how quickly these things can change. And I realize people are going to say, it's different this time, it's different that time, gerrymandering, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, just as we've seen with Trump in the last few months, the way it's gone up and down, with him being, tied with Hillary, so down in the polls he could never win. And then he's tied with Hillary again. It was just reminding me the way he was melting down, sort of the way the situation was melting down for Democrats in 94, where things can get so bad that something clicks and this societal upheaval or political upheaval happens, and all of a sudden you get a critical mass of voter anger together, and it changes things. And I just had a feeling, anyway, what people are saying is everybody thinks that Paul Ryan gave his talk yesterday to House Republicans and said, A, I'm not defending Trump, but B, you can all decide what you want to do regards to how you deal with the Trump campaign, whether you support him or not, whether you pull out or not, it's up to you. And he means, I give you permission to unendorse Trump. I give you permission to call for him to withdraw. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to put pressure on you to be loyal to the party or to be loyal to the candidate. Everybody took that as meaning Paul Ryan saw internal polls that were much worse than people thought, and that the House is now in danger. That's what people think. I don't know. I've not seen any polls suggesting that, but everybody I sort of respect online, meaning the political pundits, the journalists I respect, everyone's sort of taking it as Ryan saying, holy cow, the House could be in danger. So, who knows? But I certainly get that, that's what we all think. It would be wonderful to get the House. What else we got going here, folks? Dan Rather's written some good things about this on his Facebook page. Oh, Jennifer, really? About what? About winning the House or what? I'll have to look. Or actually, if we're still on, if anybody sees what Rather wrote and wants to grab a paragraph and post it in the comments, feel free. I'm going to look and see if anybody else has any other interesting points. Otherwise, we may sign off shortly. Just going to see if I missed anything else. Sorry, folks. Just looking in the comments. We may have, although actually, I shouldn't say it. I'm sure I missed a bunch at the beginning because I was talking and couldn't look at the comments. Cameron, will we ever have a debate that will discuss policies? And there's a good question. Or will the 3 debates be a waste of time on emails and why people don't trust you? That's an interesting question. I was talking to a editor of a very large publication yesterday over coffee, and he was saying to me, he said, what are Hillary's policies? And I don't mean he was saying that in he knows he can Google and get them. That's not the point. He meant, when are we hearing a discussion of her policies, or Trump's for that matter, beyond the wall? We don't hear about this. And that's something that's been sort of concerning me for a while, is even for me as somebody who supports Hillary, if you ask me for the details on her platform, I'd kind of have to think about it a while and go, yeah, because you're not hearing every day a discussion of Hillary's education proposals. I mean, I know she wants to do something with helping education along Bernie's line, right? But sort of the details of it. Hillary's tax proposal, again, I know there's some tax proposal, and I know it's going to go after the wealthy finally. But I don't know. I'd be at pains to explain to you because it's not being repeated all the time. Trump, we know about the wall. And now we know that he wants to face impeachment by trying to jail Hillary. That's all we know. But what we're seeing is a debate. Now, I will say this. Part of the reason, not part, probably the reason, we are now seeing a debate not on the top and not on the issues, but on all this extraneous stuff, is that Trump is losing. And Trump is afraid he's really losing. And in the late hours when a candidate is losing, they go negative, because going negative works. It can bring both of you down, but it's a Hail Mary that could work. That if he's able to go negative enough to Hillary, he can get her to say something stupid that can be used against her. Again, it's desperation, but that's why you don't see people talking about the issues. I think she is trying to talk about the issues. She did bring up issues during the debate, and she's bringing up issues on the campaign trail, but Trump doesn't want to go there because at this point, he's not going to win on the issues. He thinks he's going to win by taking Hillary down. Alex Jones. Yeah, Alex Jones, he's a winner. All right, I'm going to go back at the end here and see if any more, and then we can sort of sign off and get working on the rest of the day here. Daniel from Stockholm. Oh, hey, Stockholm. Oh, nice to meet you, Daniel. Yep, I've been to Stockholm a few times. Loved it. I did some work with the Social Democrats. The obscene way the House is gerrymandered, we know about that. Jeffrey Feldman. Oh, hey, Jeff. We've seen how Trump has doubled down in his attacks on Hillary, saying he will put her in prison. I'm curious, are there any down-ticket candidates on the GOP side who are following his lead on this? Any Trump candidates who are also aggressively doing this? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else knows whether anybody else in the GOP has picked up on this, not just, jail her, that chant, or lock her up, but on the actual idea that once he's president, he's going to figure out how to illegally appoint a special prosecutor, which he can't do. My more legal political friend, I mean, I'm a lawyer, but I don't sort of get into the law of politics. Ari Melber, for example, on MSNBC, got into a lot of detail showing that what Trump was proposing to do to Hillary was an impeachable offense. The president can't appoint prosecutors to go after people, that he can't indict people, that he can't jail people. It's not the way it works. It's the FBI, the Department of Justice. They do their own independent investigation. They decide who to go after, just as we saw with Hillary in the emails. It was up to the FBI. It wasn't up to Obama, and it would have been inappropriate for Obama to put any pressure. Not just politically it would have looked bad, but it's an impeachable offense, and that actually people have been showing, tweeting on Twitter. Oh, hey, Constantino, my cousin from Greece who was just here this weekend. What people were tweeting around this weekend was the actual articles of impeachment for Nixon include just that, this tampering with, tampering with an investigation. It's an impeachable offense. So Trump is nuts to be talking about doing it. But I don't know. I'd be very curious to see if other Republicans have joined on with this idea of tampering with the investigative process and using it. Actually, one point I'll make too with regards to Trump's threat to launch this special prosecutor against Hillary. We now know that Trump wants to destroy anybody who stands against him. We know that he's now admitted he's willing to use the power of the government, including the FBI, Justice Department, to go after his political enemies. What do you think he's going to do to Rance Priebus, who heads up the RNC, and Paul Ryan, who heads up the U.S. House, who he's now at war with? What do you think he's going to do to them if he becomes president? I mean, Trump, people talk about other people having enemies lists. Trump is going to have the enemies list to top all enemies lists when if he were to get elected. And I think that's another point that now Paul Ryan and others have to think about. Honestly, they need to sort of put this guy out of his misery. And my suspicion is, Ryan probably knows if he pulls out and unendorses Trump, he may just poke the bear even further and Trump will go crazier, and he may just be, Hillary's strategy, which is kind of just walk away from the guy a little bit while he self-implodes. Anybody else here? Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other comments, guys, so I may just hang up now. We've talked for a good while now. I'm going to go back to my CNN. Please follow me on Twitter, Facebook too, but my Twitter account is Aravosis, my last name, Aravosis. So at Aravosis. Follow me there as I do most of my blogging, microblogging on Twitter, actually. And you can certainly read my blog, AMERICablog.com. And also, if you go to AMERICablog.com, you will see a little button on the upper left that says Contribute. I would very much appreciate if folks could help me out by donating. I've been really trying to work on the election full time. I'm not doing my consulting, and the only money I'm getting is the money you're giving me to live now. The blog does not bring in money. It hasn't since the economy crashed. So, you'll see a lot of ads. They're not bringing in much at all. So if you could please donate, I'd appreciate it. It's the only thing, keeping the lights on here. So I'd very much appreciate that. Just go to AMERICablog.com, look at the Contribute button on the very top, push it, and you'll see you'll see PayPal options, you'll see non-PayPal options, lots of ways. And follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, and make sure you like and or share this video, because apparently that helps with Facebook's algorithm to get it up there and get me more viewers and all of that. So, all right, I will talk to you guys later. Anyway, thanks. This was fun today. I enjoyed this. Trump has made life interesting, that's for sure. All right, bye-bye.